55 years ago, when I started selling shelters in Japan, people thought I was crazy, he says. Who's crazy now, he asks.
In fact, Julie, one of the major wild cards in all of this could be the Trump administration and what President Trump decides to do about the regime in North Korea.
More devastating than the atomic bombs dropped during World War II. The concern now that it could be one day mounted onto an intercontinental ballistic missile. Tonight, the U.S. ambassador to the UN now saying North Korea is, quote, begging for war.
His abusive use of missiles and his nuclear threats show that he is begging for war. War is never something the United States wants. We don't want it now. But our country's patience is not unlimited. We will defend our allies and our territory.
Военная истерия до хорошего не доведет. Это все может привести к глобальной планетарной катастрофе, к огромному количеству человеческих жертв. Никакого другого пути, кроме мирного дипломатического способа решения северокорейской ядерной проблемы, не существует. Вы думаете, что в силу принятия каких-то санкций Северная Корея откажется от того курса, который она взяла на создание оружия массового уничтожения? Россия осуждает эти упражнения со стороны Северной Кореи.
ABC's chief foreign correspondent Terry Moran is in Seoul, South Korea tonight.
Today in South Korea, a show of force. F-15 fighter jets practicing bomb drops. Missiles launched live fire maneuvers simulating an attack. This country's swift and angry response to North Korea's startling nuclear test. Its sixth and most alarming blast yet.
완전 성공!
North Korean state TV celebrated the, quote, perfect success, and there were cheers on the streets of Pyongyang. The explosion was so powerful it triggered a major earthquake, magnitude 6.3, with tremors felt across the region. And tonight, a U.S. intelligence official tells ABC News that the North Korean claim that it tested a hydrogen bomb, vastly more powerful than the atomic weapons dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, appears to be accurate. And the South Korean government today says it's detected signs that North Korea is preparing for another ballistic missile launch, this one aimed at the Pacific. The UN Security Council meeting in an emergency session this morning, U.S. Ambassador Nikki Haley calling for the strongest possible sanctions and issuing this stunning warning to the North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un.
His abusive use of missiles and his nuclear threats show that he is begging for war.
President Trump, just hours after the nuclear test, kept open the option of a military strike.
Mr. President, will you attack North Korea?
But Kim Jong-un's going all out now to develop his weapons. Since February, a series of 13 missile launches, including some capable of striking the U.S. homeland, triggering this threat from the president in August.
They will be met with fire, fury, and frankly power, the likes of which this world has never seen before.
The president also taking to Twitter, declaring he's considering launching an economic attack, stopping all trade with any country doing business with North Korea.
And Terry Moran joins us from Seoul now. And Terry, we heard you report President Trump has threatened to stop all trade with countries who trade with North Korea. That would obviously include China. And they're responding tonight?
They are, David. The Chinese Foreign Ministry firing back, calling that threat unacceptable and unfair. And analysts are pointing to the more than $500 billion worth of trade per year between China and the U.S., calling it a hollow threat. But President Trump is pointing to the fact that China's trade with North Korea is increasing.
I want to bring in retired Colonel Stephen Gagnon tonight. Steve, obviously the U.S. believes their hope is to connect a miniaturized bomb to one of those missiles one day. First, let's talk about the strength of the bomb just tested by North Korea. How strong is it?
David, they've stepped up from a basic atomic weapon to a complex thermonuclear device. Intelligence analysts believe that it's between 5 and 8 times stronger than the bomb that the U.S. dropped on Hiroshima at the end of World War II.
And Steve, you've told us before how far one of those intercontinental ballistic missiles could feasibly go, the most recent going higher and further than ever before. What most concerns you now about the test of this nuclear bomb?
David, it's the consistent progress they've made in both their missile program and their nuclear weapons. Theoretically, he now has the ability to hit most of the United States with a thermonuclear weapon. But more concerning is how, no matter what the U.S. seems to do, he doesn't slow down. In short, Kim is winning and the rest of the world is losing.
the North Korean nuclear program is more advanced and more dangerous than ever. They now fire missiles over Japanese airspace. They now have ICBM capabilities. They now claim to have tested a hydrogen bomb. And just this morning, there are reports that the regime is preparing for yet another ICBM launch. For more than 20 years, the Security Council has taken actions against North Korea's nuclear program. And for more than 20 years, North Korea has defied our collective voice. When a rogue regime has a nuclear weapon and an ICBM pointed at you, you do not take steps to lower your guard. No one would do that. We certainly won't. The time has come to exhaust all diplomatic means to end this crisis. And that means quickly enacting the strongest possible measures here in the UN Security Council. Only the strongest sanctions will enable us to resolve this problem through diplomacy. We have kicked the can down the road long enough. There is no more road left. This crisis goes well beyond the UN. The United States will look at every country that does business with North Korea as a country that is giving aid to their reckless and dangerous nuclear intentions. And what we do on North Korea will have a real impact on how other outlaw nations who seek nuclear weapons choose to conduct themselves in the future. The stakes could not be higher. The urgency is now. 24 years of half measures and failed talks is enough. Thank you.
North Korean state-run media is reporting that they detonated a hydrogen bomb with perfect success.
A hydrogen bomb.
Hydrogen bomb.
It was a hydrogen bomb or an H-bomb.
A hydrogen bomb fitted for an intercontinental ballistic missile. Striking new images coming in of Kim Jong-un inspecting the bomb that North Korea says has unprecedented strength. The announcement coming hours after the USGS detected a 6.3 magnitude explosion near the site where all of the nuclear tests have been conducted underground. South Korea calling it an artificial earthquake, Japan saying it may have been caused by nuclear tests. Seoul believes the hydrogen bomb is 4 to 5 times stronger than the one dropped on Nagasaki, Japan in 1945.
It is an atomic bomb. It is a harnessing of the basic power of the universe. The force from which the sun draws its power.
Welcome to an edgy Seoul, South Korea, where the folks here are wondering what the North is going to do next. And it might just be another missile launch. According to reports today, the North is moving yet another intercontinental ballistic missile to a launch site. No official confirmation, however, if or when a launch could happen. And as South Korea continues those live-fire military exercises, it announced today it's going to be adding to the payloads on its missiles and speeding up its anti-missile defenses. All of this, of course, in response to that nuclear test over the weekend from the North Korean regime, Kim Jong-un. Married to a ballistic missile, one expert told me that could be an American city buster. Dangerous stuff, Julie.
And you have been to Seoul several times. How does the mood there now compare to times in the past?
Yeah, in fact, the mood here is, I have to say, a bit more nervous, not just because of North Korea's actions, but the possible reactions. We heard today that Japan was looking at ways that it might have to evacuate its 60,000 citizens in South Korea. Remember, along with 28,000 U.S. troops, there are something like 200,000 Americans here in South Korea. Here is how one locally based analyst put it to us tonight.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Corporal Devin Pamachan. U.S. bombers conducted bilateral missions with Pacific allies in direct response to North Korea's escalatory launch of intercontinental ballistic missiles
As a demonstration of the U.S.'s ironclad commitment to its allies, 2 U.S. Air Force B-1B bombers joined their Republic of Korea and Japanese counterparts for sequenced bilateral missions. After taking off from Andersen Air Force Base, Guam, the B-1s flew to Japanese airspace with Japan Air Self-Defense Force F-2 fighters. Then the B-1s flew over the Korean peninsula, where they were joined by 4 Republic of Korea F-15s.